Well, welcome everybody to Breaking the Silence. You have a voice. I am so excited today about our topic because it is really happening. Sexual exploitation among our young people, all the way from preschool to I'm going to say 17, is crazy in this country. And so we thought that today and probably the next couple of weeks we would cover this because we want to be able to inform parents of things that they may not be aware of, and just kind of discuss it and see, what's going on. But before we do that, we want to welcome our Caribbean jammers. We want to welcome our YouTube viewers. We want to welcome our Facebook viewers. I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Um, and I am your host, Lady V, and we have today with us our host, Dr. Yvonne Bennett. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Doing well, doing well.
Good, good. How's the weather out there in New Jersey?
It's been beautiful. It's been beautiful.
I don't know
Can't
about y'all, but I'm ready
complain.
for the fall.
Yeah.
I'm over summer. I am. I'm sorry. I'm a summer girl. I mean, a fall girl. I love the cold. So I think I'm ready to kick all this heat to the curb for a minute. But I see Pastor Melanie shaking her head. How are you today?
I am doing well, thank you. No, I love spring and summer. Those are my favorite
Well,
time of the
aren't you from
year.
Panama?
I
Well,
am.
that's
I
why. That's why. So, yep, you're Panamanian girl. So,
love
it
it.
doesn't get too much winter there. I remember.
And right.
And we have our last host, Dr. Isaac Davis. How are you doing today? What does your shirt say?
It
You got
says
so many
boldly
things going on.
obtaining mercy, finding grace.
Oh,
All
I like that.
right. I
I
like
need
that.
that
I like
t-shirt. I
that.
need
No,
that.
you can't have it. No, you can't have it. You
What
can't have
does the
it.
B stand for?
Boldly. No, it's boldly. It says boldly.
Oh, I thought
Boldly obtaining mercy, finding grace.
Oh,
nice,
that's
nice.
nice. That's
Okay,
really
I like
nice.
that.
I
I
can't be
like
telling y'all my secrets where I be getting my shirts from.
That's right. Hide that logo because I see that logo. I'll find it.
right.
Yes, I'm a spring, summer, and fall person as well. Um, so I enjoy those are three climates more than any other climate. Um, the cold weather, I just deal with it whenever it's time to deal with it. So
Oh my
and
God, I'm
then
like
and
a
then of course being
bear.
a
I
of
can
course
just,
being a motorcyclist, that's the
yeah.
reason I like those seasons more than anything. But I ride in all seasons. Like last year, I got caught in the snow
Okay.
in November of last year. It
I
was
don't
fun
even
though. It was
wear a
fun.
coat. It has to be like 20 below for me to even put a coat on.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like a bear, man. I like the winter. I like boots and scarves
Yeah,
and
that's a
yeah.
Jersey girl.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
It's a jersey.
That's right.
Well, I don't know because my mom wears a coat, right? Right.
I wear a coat. I wear a coat like if the weather is like 60 degrees, you'll see me in a very warm sweater. Someone said to me the other day, "Aren't you hot in that sweatshirt?" I said, "Absolutely not." It was like 75. I'm a summer girl. I like heat. I do not like cold.
Well, I get it from my dad. My dad likes
Yeah.
I put the air conditioner on in the winter.
No.
Oh
No.
wow.
Mm-mm.
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 It's got to have a little
Mm-mm.
bit of chill to me, so
Mm-mm.
it's all right.
Wow.
It's
We
all
have
right.
to take a
I
trip.
would shiver myself.
Yeah, we have to take a trip to Georgia, and I'm already prepared because we're driving, and my husband likes cold in the vehicle. So I already have my full garments, everything. I have my sweatshirts, I have my hoodies, I have my blankets, everything. Because it's going to be
That's
cold in there.
crazy. That is crazy.
It has to be an emergency for me to put on on air in my vehicle.
But you know what's
Wow.
amazing? I just took a trip with them, and when she's driving, it's no AC going on.
None.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna suffocate. And then when my dad is driving,
It was like
nothing, it's
ice.
freezing cold. I'm like, oh, they got
Wow.
temperature issues. And then when I'm at their house, I literally get dressed right outside the garage in the wintertime because the heat is going to kill me. So I have the garage door open with the door open to the bathroom, just trying to absorb some coldness because it's really hot in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
I like heat. My
Yeah.
my husband and I have to use separate bathrooms because you can't even see me because of the steam. I like hot.
Hot showers. Yes.
Yes,
Nice and
wow.
hot.
Wow.
yes.
Yes.
I like hot showers too, but you can find me. But
Even my
um,
beautician, she gets so nervous because she says she keeps saying, "Is that too hot? Is that too hot?" No,
Right.
it's not too hot. If it's not smoking, it's not too hot.
Yes.
Have to have heat.
Well, we got a few more weeks left, and then I'm ready. I'm ready to break out my boots and my scarf and my. I think when I was in Panama, I tried to dress like that, but I was in
I don't know
denial.
how. I don't know how. The
Yeah,
coldest
I
we got in
tried.
Panama the whole
I
time we
tried
was
a
there
couple
was
of times,
about
but it was
75 degrees.
yeah,
Did
I
it
know.
even get that cool?
Well,
Yeah.
I would say in the 80s.
when I lived in Texas, we had a couple of cold moments. And I'm telling you, they would get me every time because I would get up in the morning, I would put the sweater on and the scarf and the boots, and then Lord behold, it'll turn 85
In the
degrees and I'm
afternoon.
burning up. I'm like, oh my goodness. So that's just my denial.
My dad was like that, Minister Isaac and Pastor Melanie. My dad was like that. My dad,
Wow.
you never saw him in the
But
summer. You never ever saw him without a full long sleeve shirt, a sweater, a tie, a pencil in his ear, and a
yeah.
hat. I don't care how hot it was. I've
Wow.
never seen my dad sweat, and I don't sweat. I don't care how much I walk. I don't sweat.
Wow.
I used to be like that and be like, I work out and you couldn't see no sweat.
Mhm.
But when I started sweating, I was like, look, I'm sweating.
For real, right? Yeah, I don't sweat.
I used to be
Well,
like that.
well, it's good that we can laugh. We can have some laughter because I was I watched a couple of movies. I actually watched this show, and it was centered around. It was called Double Cross. I don't know if anybody ever heard of it, but what I found amazing is we think that a lot of our predators are men, and what I have found is a lot of our predators are women.
Mm.
And that's disturbing. But it's real because if you think about it, most when we were growing up, we were taught not to talk to strangers. We were. But we were also taught to have more respect for older women than we were men. We were taught to beware of the man, but we were never taught to beware of the woman. So when we were growing up, women were considered innocent. We could stay with our aunts. Our moms trusted us with their friends. We were trusted to go to our next door neighbors' homes and all because no one would have ever thought a female would hurt a child, would
Right.
hurt you as a teenager. But what I've found is now when you talk about sexual exploitation and the things that are going on the internet and things of that nature, it's centered more around we have to be concerned with both sexes because you have just as many crazy women out there as you do men. Sexual exploitation is real, and I think that it starts when our children are young. It's sad to say that schools can't be trusted. Um, Teachers can't be trusted. It's I would not want to raise a child in 2021 because it's so many sick people out there. But one of the things that I've realized and I want to talk about today is the parental guidance. So when we were growing up, we started off, we were the cable generation. Woo, woo. My mom, she was the black and white TV generation. So they didn't really have an issue with what was on TV. There was no parental control. I think when mom, if you can correct me, when in your generation, even to kiss on TV, you had to have the one foot on the floor.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of sexual things going on.
Right.
But when cable came out, it became real, and our parents had the ability to put the parental control on, but we also was watched. I mean, and I want to, and I love this because we have a different we have an older person. So you coming up, what was that like? As far as like what you could watch on TV, what you could listen to, where you could go. What was that like, Dr. Bennett?
Well, in my time, of course, you had things like Leave It to Beaver, The Little Rascals, and of course you had Superman, and then you had the Lone Ranger. Those were the things, and Amos and Andy. Those were the things we watched on TV. Unfortunately, my mom was hung on soap operas. So having one TV in a home and my mom being a homemaker, she was going to watch her Days of Our Lives and As the World Turns and so forth and so on, which was not a good thing because we were exposed in my time to sexual things. I mean, you had your own imagination as a young person, but those soap operas were a big hit. And the parents that stayed home, their children were exposed to it. And they, parents took it lightly. They really took it lightly. But it did affect the children in my mother's home. Absolutely. And a lot of people don't understand the effect that when you talk about parental guidance. Of course, we couldn't, do the things that your generation did, but they could have done other things. My mother didn't try to, and other mothers in the neighborhood, they didn't try to hide it, so to speak. They had it on. I mean, they had their little dinner cooked and everything, and they were watching these soap operas, and it was a very bad thing because I was just very, very, very fortunate and very blessed that it didn't affect me any more than it did. But by the time I was, I would say 9 years old, instead of me being in a classroom writing a story for English, I could write a love novel between 8 and 9 years old because that's what I saw. We had those other shows that came on, but when it was the soap opera time, that's what you got. So you develop an imagination. So you can imagine what the children see today.
Well, I think that our now I'm talking about the three of us, our influences, because we didn't have cell phones, so we're a non-cell phone generation, thank God. We didn't have computers, but our main communication was I think at that point is when we started writing notes. We did a lot of note passing in school.
Yeah.
But there was still a large level of parental discretion that went on around us. We didn't have access to internet. No one could communicate with us. I'm going to say that. We now got a visual of some other things that maybe our parents didn't get a visual of, but we still didn't have that outside communication where a stranger, while we're just sitting looking at something, could communicate with us. So it was still blocked, it was still safe, it was still, I mean, my God, we only had three-way calling and call waiting, so it wasn't that big even when we were coming up. Then I think after maybe the, I'm going to take a shot and say the 90s
90s.
is when things started changing. So I can say for me, I felt safe. You know, even going to the store, we would go to the store, we could talk to the store owners. We didn't, we saw the same neighbors all the time in the grocery stores. I mean, I can remember walking to Beema's and, you know, Mr. B knew me, his son Junior knew me, everybody knew your parents. So when did this all change? When did it get to the place to where we are now, where, I mean, I don't even know how parents allow their kids to go to school.
I'm so happy you asked that question. I can remember, and I was thinking about when you were talking to Dr. Bennett. I remember watching I Dream of Jeannie.
I
And back
dream of Jeannie.
then, they slept on separate beds. They were married, but they had two twin beds in
Yeah.
the room. So
I
you
love Lucy.
never, yes, that's what it was. I love it. Yes, ma'am. So I remember that, but I really remember in 2000 and let me see, Pastor deployed 2000 and I want to say 4. So around 2003, 2004, I'll never ever forget. Joshua, our oldest child, was going to middle school. And at middle school is when I remember him telling me, Mom, there was 2 girls holding hands the walking in the hallway. And I was like, what? You're kidding me. So I remember because before kids were not exposed to that. That stuff was like hidden. It was a secret.
Yeah.
But I will never ever forget in 2004, he was just going to the 6th grade and he was witnessing that. And I was like, oh my God, that's something I did not want my children to be able to witness. And also because cell phones started becoming popular, you know, now you can call it a paperweight. I'm going to say in 1996, because it was the 360 phone. And I remember having that. Any and everybody did not have it. But then I'm going to fast forward when we were in Hawaii and in 2004, during that time, because Pastor was deploying, I said, you know what? We need to get Joshua a cell phone. But back then, you didn't have the texting with the cell phone, it was just picking up and calling. So in 2004 is when I recall things started really turning.
I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, I, I, I am of the generation too. All of us are of the generation where TV used to go off what at our 9
At
or 10
11
o'clock.
o'clock,
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock,
11, yeah, something like
You
that.
got the
TV,
beep.
11
yeah,
o'clock.
the beep. So I remember. I think I remember my parents getting their first color TV. Um,
Yeah.
I also remember us getting cable. And
Right.
also, if you think about us coming up when we came up, everything we needed was within the neighborhood. That's first and foremost. Um, so the entire neighborhood knew everybody's child. Every child was raised by the entire neighborhood. So if you did anything wrong, your parents found out far beyond you even getting home to even tell them. Everybody knew everybody's phone number, and if they didn't know your phone number, then we could go right to the phone book. I don't think I've seen a phone book in years. I can't remember the last time I've seen the white pages. I've seen the yellow pages, but I can't remember the last time I've seen the white pages. So when you think about at the time that we came up, it was just such of the village raises the child. And also back then, the village protected the child as well. So if there was something that happened, the entire village, that you had to go through the entire village to even get to that child. Today, and I'll take the blame. It was my generation that decided to foregoes that I'm not going to do what my parent did.
Mhm.
So we started the spoiling generation. We are the generation that said that our children will have more than what we will ever have,
Mhm.
and that we won't stop our children from doing things in their high school life because of things that we were not allowed to do. Uh, so I can definitely say that my generation was the contributing factor into spoiling the child. And also I think that was it our children that yeah, it was our children that also ushered in the technology generation. They were the beginners of it.
Yeah.
So now uh, so I actually laughed because we made our fun. That we went outside and played. We fell off the monkey bars. We fell off the swing. I got a cut in my leg and my kneecap right now. That of when I jumped out of a swing and I landed on the ground. My knee, there was my broken glass, and my knee went right down onto that glass, and it went all the way down inside my knee. So, but then I got to look at all the crazy stuff. We used to fall off skateboards. We used to roll down the hill with metal skates back then. Uh, we used to do all that. Um, so I think that that's what excites me, seeing that in my neighborhood that I live in now. When the children are outside playing and they're all on their bicycles, they're on their skateboards or they're roller skating down the actual neighborhood. I think that's what brings me so much fun and so much enjoyment because of the fact that it reminds me of the childhood that I had. And then if you think that we were outside, everything thing we did was outside. We created fun.
Yeah.
So
I also think too, to add to, because all of that is definitely true. I think we can add in there. Um, I think a lot of the breakdown happened when the children became latchkey kids,
Mm.
when they started coming home from school,
Yes.
opening up the door themselves, and next thing you know, their friends are coming in because both parents had to work.
Hmm.
Because in my time, none of the wives worked. My mother didn't work. None of the neighbors. Everybody was at home. But then, um, years going forward, I noticed that a lot of children were getting pregnant before time, exposed to sex before time, of course, and all that. But it was the parents, both parents worked, and the children were really left raising themselves. And now, in this era, it's worse.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really worse
Oh yeah.
because
And not only, go ahead, Dr.
go
Bates.
ahead, go ahead.
Not only that, let's go back to television. You
Yeah,
know, TV, what back then, there was no cussing, there
right,
was
right,
no
right.
sexual explicit
Correct.
anything. When we look at the shows that we came up on, the the Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, Mr. Ed, all of
Mhm.
those shows were shows that were focused on either
The
the
family.
family or my three sons. Now you had my three sons. He was a single dad. You had the Partridge Family. She was a single mom. But even when we started going into some of your black shows, the Good Times, the Jeffersons,
Mhm.
everything was always centered around the
And
family. Then
mhm.
all of a sudden, we started hearing small cuss words. Small.
Yeah,
Now I say small, and I emphasize on small because
Mhm.
now
Now, right,
everything
They're
is
right,
free.
right,
Yeah,
you just
right.
people just cussing. But
right.
when you talk about just TV and music, everything was about, even if there
Family.
was a
Yeah.
breakup song, the breakup song made sense. We listen to music now, and I have to ask myself, now I'm on music, what are our kids listening to?
Yeah.
You know,
That's one of
We
the
ain't gotta
things.
talk about that.
Yeah.
You know,
I
Yeah.
can't even understand
Right.
what
what?
They're
Yeah,
saying.
is being
yeah.
said.
What they're
And
saying.
I'm a grown
You,
person.
you know,
It's like, and one thing that I want to say, I saw a video, because they did this, they did this whole controversial thing with Cardi B and her new video. And I said, well, first of all, you somebody's mom. And you on the video, because videos came a long way too. It used to be where, kind of it was the subtle approach. Now folk just naked.
Yeah.
They naked on the pole. So it's like what
what you
we
talking
don't
about? They
realize
walking
is,
outside just naked there.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna talk
and-
about.
but
Mhm.
see, the thing
Exactly.
of what people don't realize is now things are so out there. But what's so funny? Everything's out there, but so are our children. There's
Yeah.
less parental guidance. You don't see any young child without an iPad.
So
Or
true.
iPhone.
So parents use iPads to keep their children to get their
That's the
children.
Right.
babysitter.
It used to be where we
Right.
never had technology. As a matter of fact, our parents took. I remember many times going on punishment, and the first thing my mom would say, "You're not watching TV for a month." I'm like, "Oh, okay." That didn't mean
You
anything
could
to
do
them.
something
It didn't
else.
mean anything. You try to take a cell phone, you try to take an iPad, you try to take social media. You got to kill these kids. These kids
Right.
are looking at
Yeah.
everything. So now things have become 150 times worse. But there's
Hmm.
no parental guidance.
Right. That's one of the things I was alluding to with the latchkey kids coming in the house. You don't know what they're watching. You really don't know. Now it's even worse because this texting thing
Oh
is to the
God.
roof. I mean, that's one of the things that's causing a lot of this sex trafficking because people are hooking up with one another, letting each other know I'm home and I'm home alone, and people can track certain things. You get a person, an IT person that knows how to tap into your phone or tap into phones, they can get information.
Yes,
They really can.
it's
You're
called the
absolutely
metadata.
right. And I
Is it
think
the
about
metadata?
talking about that, and it's the Zen generation.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember, and like I said, I remember the shift in 2004. But then even Jemiah was born in 2001. So now when we were stationed in Hawaii, and of course the kids went outside and it was really, really big. They played. But when we got stationed, even in California, you didn't see kids really playing outside,
Mm-hmm.
doing anything. Like Jemiah, up to this day, she does not know how to ride a bike. Shame on mom and dad. No, we did not teach them. But it was not the same as when Joshua and Jacob was growing up. And then the girls, I remember, and here is another turn. I remember Jemiah going to when she was in middle school. So I'm going to say in 2012 is when I saw another shift. And the one thing that I noticed about that shift is when the girls started wearing spandex.
Mm,
They started wearing spandex with a crop shirt so that
mhm.
they could show off their butt. And I'm
But
like,
we had that in
this
the
is not cute. We did, but it was different. I think we were more of the innocent type because I remember when I was in high school, belly shirts were out. But and if you had on tight jeans, you were being fast. You know, you were back, you were being fast back then. But I just look at the shift because see, back then, like we were saying, we didn't have cell phones. You had to write people a note. Remember how you used to fold it a certain way and then you pull it in the corner? It was here, give this person a note, or you calling people. Whereas now the technology, because then they got access to cell phones and then they had access to iPads. And it's like, and then they started sneaking around. And oh my God, I forgot that one conversation. Remember MySpace, when MySpace became popular. And so it started creeping in little by little. So I just think about that. Like I said, I can also look at that shift when the dressing really changed with the girls wearing spandex and everything was, oh, I want to show off my butt. My butt looks big. And then it just started getting progressively worse because look at how these women are dressing on TV. I mean, it's like the less they show, the better it is. And it's really scary. And then the other thing is this nasty twerking. I mean, people twerk and think it's cute. I mean, I'm like, are you kidding me? No, it's just really sad. And then we wonder why we're dealing with exploitation like we are. We're saying it's okay for you to show your body. It's okay for you to put on it's like less clothes.
And Pastor Melanie, that is so profound. But even in the church, there are
Yes,
some people
ma'am.
that still don't know how they should look at church. I mean, I've seen some churches like on YouTube and so forth and so on. I mean, everything hanging out. And what do you expect from the children? You're saying to your children, it's okay. It's okay. But then you wonder why this exploitation is so popular
Well, I
because
think
of that
But then
attitude,
that, but then that,
of
okay,
the
but
of the
that
of
goes
that
back into,
pervert. That attitude.
yes.
They're looking and they're creeping around. The devil is subtle, but he want to be seen.
Well, let me say this about who. Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, uh, clothing doesn't bother me. Let me say it this way. Clothing doesn't bother me because even in our ministry, we have a relaxed clothing a standard. I mean, basically, it's come as you are. Um, I can agree with clothing up to an aspect of when a person becomes into the knowing of themselves. Because until then, unless you plan on buying the clothing side don't even bother me. Their soul bothers me. That's when it comes to that. Um, but I go back and look at. Let's go back to the 50s. Let's go back. We can go back to the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then 60s. Clothing started to transition in the 60s from what the 30s, 40s, and 50s used to do. So clothing started transitioning in the 60s. Then from the 60s to about 78, somewhere in there, and then in the 80s another transition happened. So when you look for Yvonne, Pastor and my generation, in the 80s, the spandex was out.
It
A
was.
spandex, it was out. That was the thing to actually wear. So then in the 90s, it transgressed into the baggy clothing. So now full circle, how trends come right back around. So now that trend is actually back out. So um, and even as we had a conversation in church about the twerking, what one culture may think that is church twerking, another culture is their culture.
Yeah.
It's their culture and how they dance, and it's never seen as twerking. It's never seen as doing anything that's provocative. Um, so, but I do believe that we have to get back to the village aspect, especially when it comes to protecting our children. Not saying that sex trafficking didn't happen back then. It was so minute
Yeah.
that you did not hear about it versus today's is excited because the village no longer care. How often have you gone up to someone that you don't know that say, "Hey, check this out. That tone of our language that you're using, for you to be a young woman or even a young man, that's not the tone to actually have." We
Yeah.
can't do that today
Right.
because 9 out of 10 we're gonna get cussed out by that person. Back then, when when a elder spoke, everybody respected the elder.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Well,
true.
And I
I was
think
in,
I
I
I'm
think
think
it.
sorry.
Oh,
I'm
look,
sorry.
all of us. You try. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
I think that and I totally agree with Isaac, is it has to get back to everybody doing their
mhm.
part,
Yeah,
because when I hear, I was in the store and I saw a grandma with her grandchild, and she was calling the girl little B, little hoe. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
when did grandma start cussing
yeah.
at the grandkids?
Right,
So what
right.
I'm saying is, when now we don't even have a respect, and we're the older generation. We are, whether we want to realize it or not. They say we knew age 30, whatever, because that's the problem. We knew age. But the thing is, where's the respect? Because we were taught you don't use that language around older people. You put a title first of all on people's name. That's the first thing. If you were 10 years older than somebody, you use the title. But see, now this is how they're getting our children, because the respect is not taught anymore. So
Right,
it's easy for a cool 50-year-old lady to
right.
walk up to a 15-year-old child and say, "Yo, what's up, dog? What's up, bro?" New word is
Mhm.
bro. "What's up, bro?" Because we're trying to be cool like them. And
Right.
now that 50-year-old lady can draw that 15-year-old in,
Yeah,
because the
yes.
respect
Very
level is
true.
different. 50-year-olds didn't lure children in when we were coming up.
Right.
They didn't talk our lingo. They didn't sit there and go, "Yo, what's up?" They didn't do that. But now you got people on the video that refuse to get old. I'm sorry, they're just not getting old. Okay,
Exactly.
they still trying to keep up with the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, so they're not getting old. So now our young people, let's go back to videos. Our young people are still seeing J Lo. Girl, you're gonna have to be mad at me today. Mariah. All of them is still naked.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what I was alluding
But
to.
they have to
Yeah, yeah.
respect your elders.
Respect.
The
That's
elders
right.
is naked.
That's right. That's what I was
That's
alluding to.
true. That's true.
I wasn't alluding to people coming into the church with just,
Okay.
I'm like Minister Isaac. That don't bother me. But what does bother me is when you're up front as a minister or an elder in a position and you've got stuff showing that, people
Should
should,
not be.
because
Hmm.
you're supposed to be a teacher. You're supposed to be a teacher. You're supposed to teach the other ones. And like Lady V said, you at a certain certain amount of years, you're supposed to put a title on that person's name, but they're not taught to do that in a lot of different surroundings.
Hmm.
So yes, you do have to go along with culture, because some things is okay, acceptable, should I say, in one culture, where it's not acceptable in another. But there's a thing called common sense, and some things just come natural. I mean, I like to dress, and I like to dress comfortable, and like going south in a couple of days. I happen to know the people in this setting do not dress like Dr. B. So I had to go to the other side of the road of my closet where the old folks stuff is and kind of pull out some things, because I'm not going to step up in there in, leggings and stuff like that, because there are older people there and some of the younger people. This is a pastor's wife that passed away. So I want to go presentable. So you use your godly common sense and spiritual insight. That's what you have to do, because people, sometimes you're the only Bible that people will ever read.
You're
And you
Hmm.
want
right.
to make sure that what they read is acceptable.
You're right. And the problem is, and I was thinking about what you said, Lady V. You got J Lo, you got Mariah
Yeah.
Carey. Try and here it is. I want my sexy back. Or you
Yeah.
don't want to let it go. And my thing is, to me, it's classy. Look at back in the day when the women used to look nice. They
Yeah.
carried themselves in a nice manner. It was classy. But the only way that it would get back there is, like you were saying, Minister Isaac, is the village. And then if we had more people who were in the spotlight, if they started carrying themselves in that manner, then
Mhm.
other people would catch on and, oh, I like that, because they're the ones who, I would say, they're the trendsetters.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And so you see so many people trying to mimic off of them. And so, oh, this is how I want to dress. This is how I want to look. But if they would catch on and wait a minute, this is how, then things would
Y-
definitely be different.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also think back, who were our role models back in the day
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
versus today.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Everybody's role model is
Well,
someone
I must
that they
say
think
that
is in a better place.
our
But
role models weren't the best of
okay,
role models because
right, right.
I am going to say this, and it's kind of like a double standard because we're so not wanting to be like our role models
Hmm.
because our role models caused a lot of us to lose sight of our sexuality and our feminine qualities and all of those things, and then our men left us and cheated on us.
Yeah,
So
true.
our role
So
models weren't the best role models in the world because they,
no,
and I'm
okay,
just going
so
back to the church. I'm going back to the church. The church was not a good role model for a lot of us. They
true
weren't.
that, true that.
There was no medium. There was no, everything we was taught was to just cover up all the way to the neck. You couldn't be yourself. So a lot of things that we learned was not good. But so this is where we have
But
lost our young people because one, the influence, because now let's look at the influences. Let's go back to the village. The first influence was the family.
mom, mom and dad,
Mama, daddy,
aunts and
auntie,
uncle.
uncle. Well, here's the
Hmm.
thing. You got grandpapa, you got uncle, all them, they still trying to be cool. They still walking around with their snapbacks and doing what they do. So the family has totally disconnected. You don't have the grandfathers being in their grandkids' life. You don't have grandmamas looking after their grandchildren. You don't, everybody trying to do their own individual thing. Auntie, uncle, all of them. Then the second influence was school. It was the church. So church, you can't even get young people to come to church. The church has totally lost our young people because of the way we were taught. So that one had nothing to do with the church. Then it was now we have the outside influences, which is social media. It used to be the teachers. The teachers are trying to be cool. Now let's look at what's in the school system. You got all kinds of stuff in the school
Mm-hmm.
system. You got the
Yeah,
gays, you got the straights, you got the everything. I'm saying it. I don't care if they get mad at me on social media today. It's out there. The kids go to
yes,
school. They
but
don't
I
know
would.
if the male teacher is a man or a woman because they walking around trying to look like Nas. That's the bottom line. They walk in because everybody is free to be who they are. So this is the outside influences that our children are seeing.
Yes,
When the kids
yes,
go to preschool, you got the preschool diversity. We got to respect diversity. So when you see now the books, the school got to have books on the homosexuals. They got to have the books on the same dad, the two dads. Now you got homeboy that say his men can have a baby. So now poor little sweet boys gonna think that they can get pregnant. It's all kinds of stuff that the kids is learning. But the
yes.
thing is, the first primary influence, which is go back to the parents, They ain't nowhere to be found because they can't. I'm gonna say it. They can't even get along.
So okay,
You
so
are
now what I
telling
was
the
saying
truth.
about so what I was saying about the role models is that back in the day we had limited access to know what celebrities were doing anyway. Celebrities were not our role models. We had crushes. We had
Right.
celebrity crushes. Like we had celebrity posters up on the wall. But
Absolutely.
it wasn't our role model. Even if our immediate mom and dad wasn't the best role model, we had somewhere in our family we had the aunt, the uncle, or either a cousin that was doing something that we looked up to because we thought highly of them, and that was a role model. Um, and again, what I was saying is that when we get back to wholesome family values, and not saying that they don't exist, because yes, every household is different and every family is different, but for the most part, we need to get back to that. And it is something that we really have to get back to. Uh, and that's what comes with, not in all cases, but that's what come in when you have the father or the mother separated from their child, or the father mother is absent in a child's life. Um, that when we came up, there was always somewhere that there was always someone that replaced the person that we were missing in our life. It was always there. So now, because of today's society, the access to everybody is like right now. I know I could go on Instagram right now, go to any entertainer's um, Instagram, and I can talk directly to them just like that. We didn't have that access back in the day.
Right.
Right.
So that's the side of getting back to what role models used to be. Not saying that we cannot aspire to be great or to become an entertainer, but the role model aspect of it. And remember back in the day when Charles Barkley said, "I'm not your child's role model."
Yeah, but how do we get it back? Because I
The,
really don't
the
see that happening.
the way we have to get it back is that parents need to start parenting. You
Exactly.
Mm,
need to make sure your children are a priority. You're teaching your children, you're showing your children this is right, this is wrong. Be involved in your children's life, and
Hmm.
it would be different. But like you were saying, you have parents who don't get along. So here it is. He's trying to do his own thing. She's trying to do he's trying to do his own thing. She's trying to do her own thing. And then where does that leave the child? That leaves the child to, because they're so wrapped up in being selfish into them that, and I'm not saying it's all cases, but the child ends up raising themselves. And that's why the exploitation is becoming so much easier, because here it is, we're putting tablets and phone in the hands of children and not monitoring what they're doing,
What they're
and
doing.
before
That's
you
right.
know it, you have strangers talking to your children.
That's
And
right.
here it
exactly.
is,
Hmm.
you have parents who are at odds with each other, and the children are sneaking away. People are, that's how they're getting in, and that's how we
And it's
are we
yes.
are losing our children. And then this is how the human trafficking is coming in. That's why it's like a floodgate. And like you said, yes, it has been happening, no doubt. But I'm going to say, back then you had children who ran away from home, and
Yeah.
and you knew, you was like, oh, they ran away. Whereas today, your child, oh, I'm going outside to play with a friend, when it's not a friend at all,
Hmm.
it's someone else. And
Hmm.
then it's also times where, and a lot of times, it's people who are closest to you who are doing things to your children.
That's true.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Because
Yeah.
true.
we're
That's true.
so trusting and
Yes.
we have
Yeah.
become so self-absorbed into our own world. Let me tell you
Right.
something. When you hear we can't even tell our kids not to cuss because the parents cuss. The
Yeah.
parents
Right.
refer to each
Yeah.
other as hoe and b and the n word. You didn't never You didn't hear that back in the day, but now you can't even tell if you got. I know when I worked in the school system, I couldn't even tell the children not to cuss. I had to establish a different rule. Just don't cuss before 10 o'clock. This is not that. Because I never, I mean, you got people, and then when you go and you call the parent and you tell the parent, your child just called me a name, and the parent is like, you called me for that?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's true.
yes.
True.
You know,
They want to beat the teacher up. So
Hey,
what
I
you
don't
gonna
think
do?
growing up, Yvonne can ever say that she heard her parents cursing
I can't say that.
because that's not something we did. Is that something?
I can't
Am
say
I off by saying that,
that.
Lady V?
Lady V.
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I know. I
that's
know.
not something we did.
I didn't hear the when see cussing back then is different than cussing now.
Yeah, well,
So
I
you
don't,
may
I
have
don't.
heard your parents use the N word. You may have heard
Right,
your parents use the A
right.
word. I'm talking about nowadays. It
The
is
bums.
crazy.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
is the stuff that I'm hearing grown people say in front of their children
yeah,
is not like it. Well, because I'm sure that in our generation, we have used the D word, we may
yeah,
have used the A
yeah,
word, but
yeah.
we didn't walk around. You didn't,
No,
Melanie, I'm calling you
Hmm.
Melanie right now. Johnny ever call you a B?
No.
yeah. Well, you see,
Exactly.
yeah, that makes a difference. And going back to how do we get it back? And like Pastor Melanie said, parents have to start parenting. Now,
Right.
if your children are already adults, it's too late in the day for that. But you can teach as a grandparent, you can teach your grandchildren and your great grandchildren. But you have to know the truth. You have to know what to teach them and how they should grow up. But I see a lot of, I'm like Lady B, I see a lot of women in their 50s. I mean, they're just out there. They're hoochie mamas and some everything else. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. I can definitely say this. and and I'm just gonna give Jemiah some props right here, only because the fact that I see it.
Oh.
You can tell who her influences are in her
Right.
life. And
Oh,
even
thank
though that
you.
I joke, I crack on it, I joke on it because it's comical. It's comical in the good sense because because I sit on the inner circle, so I get to know, other things. So, but you can definitely tell who her influences are in her life. Now, I know that once she leave the nest, that she will totally have the option to make her own decisions on what she want to do. But I believe that those decisions will always be held by
Yeah,
the influences
absolutely.
in her life. And and I'm not saying this to actually boast anybody. No, that's just facts. You just speak facts where facts is. And she's not the only one, but that's just the one that I'm just going to use for right now. Um, but you can tell the influence she have, and then the lessons that she learned without even have to going through them is the lessons that she saw, because you will hear her say adamantly is that I saw my brothers mess up and I'm not going down the road that they went down. So it
But
is so
can I
funny.
add to that with her? Because one thing I can say about Jemiah, she's a prime example of a young lady who understands her generation. She dresses very appropriately, but she
Thank
dresses
you.
young. She dresses pretty, she's prissy. But I think that to go along with that, she's been taught how to carry herself like a young lady. Because I think that whether you got some of these girls, they don't dress hoochie, but their attitude
Yeah,
is crazy, so it's still attitude to take you everywhere. And when you see a lot of these, when I look on TikTok, I look on Instagram, especially TikTok, it's a whole different world now. You got folks
It
doing something,
is.
and that's what I'm saying. A lot of times people don't even know what their young children are
right.
who they're communicating with, and it's late at night. I think I kind of glanced at a couple of, because I'm not a TikTok person, but then when I see young girls on there and it's in the middle of the night, I'm like, okay, well, why you not in the bed?
Mm-hmm.
See, parents are not taking their children's cell phones, first of all.
Right.
And some of them are too young to have cell phones.
And then that's the second thing. Well, I don't think that they even know what their kids are doing because they're asleep, or they're doing their own thing. So you don't know that your child is on TikTok twerking, selling their body, talking about, hey baby. We don't know what they're doing because the parents are not even being aware of what their children are into. And that's where it's a setup. It is a setup because a lot of times predators, they're on, just like your child is on social media late at night, so are predators. And they know how to find your address. They know how to find your whereabouts. They know how to do all of that. They know how to tap into things that even parents don't know how to do.
That's right.
So the thing is, parents need to parent. They need to make sure that they are watching their children. My children used to ask me all the time, well, can I go to the mall? What do you got money?
Right.
No, then you don't need to go to the mall. Can I go hang out? When my children were growing up, they couldn't even go to their friend's house without me having. I basically needed almost a social security number. I had to talk to a parent. I had to make sure I went there. I had to make sure I knew who you were, and then I would stay for a little while. And if I didn't like what was going on,
time to go.
Now we just let our children go anywhere. You don't know where your child is going. You don't even know if you walk out that door if you're going to see your child again. So, in this segment, we want to make parents aware, because we only have 3 minutes. You need to parent. You need to make sure that you stop trying to be your child's friend.
That's right.
Because you are not your child's friend. You are your child's parent. And parents parent. And it is our responsibility to go back to being, I can't say a village, because a lot of people can't be trusted anymore. So
That's true.
Go with the village mentality. But parents need to parent their children.
Yes.
You need to take the cell phones. You need to take all of the other stuff away so they can get a better education and they can stop being fooled by those people that are out there.
That's
but
so true.
We are running out of time. This has been a great discussion. This is going to go on for the whole month. We wanted to kick it off with parents asking themselves a question. Do you really know what your child is exposed to? We're talking about sexual exploitation and trafficking. We are going to provide you with all kinds of information this month, because we're hopefully we're able to kind of stop some of the stuff that's going on in this country. I think Pastor Melanie said, can you give us the high rates in the states that it's going on real quick?
Yes, and human trafficking is really high in Atlanta, Texas, and California.
So we want to really, really make sure, and I'm sure that there's other states that it's high as well.
Oh, yes.
Think that New York is exempt in California, but we really need to take a hold of our children and become parents. And if you have any questions, we're going to have some, hopefully we'll have some people that will come on the show in the next couple of weeks. And also we're going to provide you with some hotlines that you can call just in case your child comes up missing. But we are now at 4:59 and we have to go. But this has been an awesome, awesome show. Next week, we're going to be talking about the influences of social media and how it is destroying our children's lives. But until then, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you all of our viewers on all of our different platforms. And remember, we are breaking the silence. You have a voice. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.